The Chicago L is an iconic rail system that traces its roots back to the 19th century, when multiple elevated rail companies operated trains in and around the city. The Chicago Transit Authority took over rail operations in 1947 and has continued to operate trains on its 8 lines, spanning over 100 miles. Despite its length, the L is only the 4th longest metro system in the country, being bested by BART, the Washington Metro, and of course, New York City's expansive system. So obviously, we need more. There have been a few proposals and studies of extensions to the L, and I want to go over each of the system's 8 existing lines and discuss what has been proposed, what's been studied, and what feasible or reasonable extensions I would like to see. Starting with the system's busiest line, an extension of the Red Line further south of its current terminus at 95th is currently underway. The extension will add 4 new accessible stations along 5.6 miles of new track, stretching into Chicago's southernmost neighborhoods. The extension will mostly follow existing freight rail right-of-way and have a new terminus and rail yard at 130th Street in Riverdale. A major goal of the extension is to spur residential and commercial transit-oriented development in the areas surrounding new stations, and to provide transit equity for Chicago's majority-minority far south side communities. This would also be the first time the CTA has built any new track or right-of-way since the construction of the Orange Line in 1992. This extension has long been in the works, with alternatives analysis commencing almost 2 decades ago in 2006. Construction is slated to start in 2024. There have been a few considered extensions of the Blue Line, making the system's longest line even longer. Just before the turn of the century, the northwest suburbs near O'Hare had exploded in population and development, and the region's transit agencies were tasked with proposing new service to meet the demand. The CTA had come up with a bold proposal to extend the Blue Line over 10 miles from its O'Hare terminus through the suburbs to the village of Schaumburg. They offered 2 alignments, one north and one south, both ending at a potential transit center in the village. The northern alignment ran through Elk Grove Village, Des Plaines, Mount Prospect, Arlington Heights, and Rolling Meadows, with another stop at the Woodfield Mall in Schaumburg. The southern alignment ran through Bensonville and Wooddale, Itasca, and Elk Grove Village with a couple stops in Schaumburg. The extension was planned to run 24/7, with advertised 8 to 10 minute headways both on and off peak. Unfortunately, this extension never made it beyond the planning phase, as Metra's ill-fated Star Line was ultimately chosen as the preferred plan, but more on that in another video. Since the death of that proposal, another westward extension of the line has been proposed, although this time from the other end of the line in Forest Park. Listed on the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning's website, the Blue Line West extension would lengthen the Forest Park branch along Interstates 290 and 88, all the way to Lombard, with an interim terminal at Manheim Road near Bellwood. This ambitious proposal was shelved in favor of a general modernization and rehabilitation of the existing Forest Park branch. Personally, I think the Blue Line is plenty long, and there are already issues with maintaining frequencies and service along the line. If there were to be any extensions, I would recommend splitting the 2 branches of the Blue Line into their own lines, to allow for potentially better service. For the existing line, I'd love an infill station on the north end when it exits the loop, maybe at Clinton or Canal. A station there would be a decent connection to Ogilvy Transportation Center, and it would be very convenient for my favorite rail fanning spot. Speaking of splitting the Blue Line, the Pink Line was once a branch of the Blue, becoming its own line in 2006. I couldn't find any proposals or plans for extensions to the line, which is fine because I certainly have one. The line currently ends at 54 Cermak in Cicero. However, continuing west of the station is a perfect right-of-way of parking lots just begging for rails. I think the line should extend to Cermak Harlem, across the street from the North Riverside Park Mall, with stops at Oak Park, Ridgeland, and Austin. This would connect the mall with CTA's rail system, as well as provide better connectivity to the L for those in Berwyn. As for the existing line, I would like to see a station at Madison to serve the United Center. I know the Green Line is getting a station at Damon, but I think one at Madison on the Pink would also be beneficial. I'd also like to see a station on Roosevelt, or maybe 13th. This would provide service to shopping, as well as hopefully spur some transit-oriented development in the nearby empty lots. As mentioned earlier, the Green Line is currently getting an infill station at Damon, which will fill in a 1.5 mile gap between stations and ostensibly serve the United Center. Construction on the new station started in 2021 after many delays, and is projected to open in the first part of 2024. As for extensions to the line, CMAP looked at re-extending the Cottage Grove branch of the line to its historical terminus near Jackson Park at Stony Island Avenue. Although they claim it would have a high cost relative to its expected benefits, I think the extension would be useful, as it would connect with Metro Electric, the South Shore Line, and provide rapid transit access to a major lakeside park. Although unlikely, I think extending the 63rd Ashland branch to Midway would provide better connectivity to the airport, as well as the Orange Line and bus terminal located there. The CTA 63 bus route currently provides both this connection, as well as the aforementioned Metro Electric South Shore Line connection, and is one of the agency's busiest routes, seeing an average of just over 6 million riders per year pre-pandemic. I think both of my proposed extensions to this line would help increase the capacity of this busy corridor and supplement the bus service. Alternatively, BRT along 63rd could help improve service along this corridor. The yellow line is my favorite, partly because it's so short, but I can't let sentiment get in the way of transit extensions. CMAP lists an extension of the line to Old Orchard Mall in Skokie as having relatively low benefits for its cost, and once again I must disagree. Old Orchard is a large open-air pedestrian mall with a wide range of shopping and dining options, and I believe an L connection would drive more customers to the mall. I personally enjoy going there, and it'd be a lot easier and quicker to be able to take the yellow line instead of having to take a bus. Plus, the Niles North High School is nearby, providing another potential passenger base of high school commuters. The CTA studied this extension in the past, completing an alternatives analysis and environmental scoping, and published a report on the preferred alignment. Unfortunately, as of 2010, the plan is essentially dead, with the CTA not studying the project further. Mentioned in the agency's Destination 2020 plan published near the turn of the century is a southward extension of the Yellow Line to Jefferson Park or Montrose. The northerly extension was preferred, so this southern stretch was not studied. Looking at Google Maps, there's an obvious right-of-way, south of where the Yellow Line turns north, near Oakton. While an extension of this nature would provide more transfer options, the way the line is currently laid out would require it to be a branch. I don't think that makes much sense operationally, and I would personally prefer the northerly extension. While building a new station at Oakton, the CTA looked at opening another infill station along the Yellow Line, and after a study selected Asbury as the potential site of a new station. Unfortunately, the proposal faced funding hurdles and is no longer currently being considered. I do believe the Yellow Line would benefit from a few infill stations between Howard and Oakton though. There are currently 4 miles in between these two stops, and an infill station at Asbury, as well as Crawford, would serve the surrounding neighborhoods and provide more bus connections. CTA's newest built line, the Orange Line, serves neighborhoods southwest of the Loop and Chicago's forgotten little brother of an airport, Midway. However, the line was originally planned to end at the Ford City Mall. Old CTA railcar roll signs even have an orange Ford City option. Unfortunately, again due to a lack of funding, the line instead ends at Midway. The CTA briefly studied extending the Orange Line to Ford City, but canceled the study in the early 2010s. CMAP says the extension would have relatively low benefits for its cost. I think that ending the Orange Line at Midway operationally makes sense, since airports are large ridership drivers. However, if I had to extend the line, I'm in favor of extending it to its originally planned terminus at Ford City, but I think continuing the extension down Cicero into Oak Lawn would be a good idea. This would connect with the Southwest Service Metro line and serve a commercial corridor. Since there's no existing right-of-way, alternatively, a potential extension could run east along existing tracks and follow them south into Evergreen Park. This alignment would still connect with the Southwest Service and end in a commercial and bus hub in Evergreen Park. The Purple Line is an interesting one, as its terminal at Linden doesn't lend itself well to any extensions, at least not any that wouldn't be destructive and expensive. The line could branch off at Davis and follow the Union Pacific North Line right-of-way, but I think the UP North Line is already a decently served corridor, and there's no real need to make a branch of the Purple Line to supplement it. I can't really think of any infill stations that would make sense either. It's okay, Purple Line, you just keep doing whatever it is you're doing. Ending with the Brown Line, CMAP lists an extension to Jefferson Park on its website, saying that rail alternatives are costly relative to the benefits they would provide. I once again must disagree, as Jefferson Park is a major transit hub, and the Brown Line would provide a one-seat rail link between it and the North Main Line. Plus, it would serve the commercial corridor along Lawrence. If extending the rail line is too costly, I would at least like to see BRT along Lawrence for the 81 to provide that link. Out of all of the extensions discussed today, only the Red Line extension is currently underway. However, it's fun to imagine what the system could become, and it can be helpful to identify corridors for potential transit improvements, whether they be rail extensions or BRT or something else. And while we're on the topic of extensions, we should extend the actual trains too. I want to see 100-car trains going around the loop.